Hello, this is Neil from mattpaintgirls.com. Visit my website for more free tutorials, or art tutorials, I should say. And the link is in the description. Alright, so in this tutorial, I'm going to be going through landscapes. And what's so challenging about landscapes is they really do challenge all your knowledge in art, from perspective to form to light and shadow, everything, composition. It's all there to make a landscape look good. So that's probably why they're so difficult if you find them difficult. So that you need to brush up on all that. You need to get good at all of that. So study all of that. Read the books on perspective or watch a lot of DVDs or videos or something. It's something you really need to get good at. So I just set up some perspective grids here. I made one blue and one red so I can see them both easily together, or I can just turn one off and on. So this one is going way out to the perspective. It's going way out into over here, and this one's going out over here. Right, so I have an idea kind of what I want to do already, and I'm going to start with using the red grid. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the background in with some sort of color, and this will be like a neutral gray for now. I'm going to start with just gray because it's easier to it's easier to work in grayscale and then to start adding color. You can just, once you get good with doing, light and shadow and everything with grayscale, then you can move on to start doing it by color. But we can still add color after it's black and white anyway. It's not a big deal. I have a cold, so I'm going to be pushing pause every now and again to clear my nose. Sorry. So I already have an idea what I want. I want to do kind of like a dilapidated bridge in a dystopian type setting. And so I've decided on my lighting and everything already. I know I want lighting over here. And so composition kind of works like this. Let me just talk briefly about composition. I'll make a new layer. Is you have this kind of tic-tac-toe thing I've talked about before. These are your focal points right here. So I want one of my focal points to be here. This is going to be all lit up. And then another one of my focal points might be right about here, and that's where some other light will be coming through. Shadows are going to be coming across like this. I'm going to have something, some buildings or mountains or something going there, some type of building up here, another focal point, so all this right here. And that's pretty much, you just kind of make those your focal points, and that's where you put your main interest at, your lighting or your character, whatever. I'm also thinking my character will probably be right about here if I put one in there. Anyway, so that's kind of how that works. That's it in a nutshell. If you want to know more about it, just look up on composition. The next thing with composition is the light and shadow of the whole entire image. So the things that are closer to you are going to be more in contrast. This is true to real life. So if you want your things to look right, this is what you need to do. The things that are closer to you, imagine that you have a camera, you're taking a picture. The things that are closer to the camera are going to be most in contrast, which means they're going to have the darkest darks and the lightest lights when it comes to the highlights on them. As you recede into the background, you have atmospheric effect. And the atmosphere then makes things more desaturated, so they're not as colorful. They become more gray, they become more blue, or whatever it is or more brown. It just depends what the atmosphere is, what time of day it is, that sort of thing. So a lot of life drawings, go out there and draw, or not draw, but go out there and paint life. You could do that by bringing a laptop with you and a Wacom, or just bring paints with you and whatever you like to paint on. Okay, so I'm going to be working black and white like I said, and my bridge is going to be one of the focal points of the image. I'm not going to use black for it though, but I'm going to follow some of these guidelines here, and I'm going to kind of pull this one here. This will be the top of the bridge. It's going to kind of go like that. I know it's not perfectly straight, but that's fine. Like so. And then the bottom of the bridge, which will be, just trying to think here how high I want it. I'll run it across like this, like something like that. And then I have the part of the bridge, parts of the bridge I'm going to be cutting. So let's see, it'll be like this here. And I'm going to make sure it's that same height on both sides. So that's one pillar, kind of going like this, and then there'll be another pillar over here somewhere. I'm trying to think how many lines away I want the arches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 squares. Doesn't have to be perfect, but remember this pillar is going to be 2 squares high, 2 squares in length. Using grids like this just really, in perspective, really helps you make sure everything looks correct. You can also just, freehand stuff and then come back with a grid and then kind of fix it that way too, but sometimes that could be more time consuming than just doing it this way. So notice, actually, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. I want to make sure there's actually 7 in between and not just 7. That is 6 in between, but anyway. So it's kind of going to make sure the arches are kind of correct here. So I'm just slowly putting it, or trying to do it quickly, just trying to find some sort of form for the bridge here, and I'll come back and paint it more with color. And then this part here is actually going to go like this, and it's actually coming right into this side of whatever this is here. There's going to be some type of wall back there or something, and it's going to be following the other perspective grid, which is here. And so trying to think how high it should be, touching the same ground plane as the bridge kind of, so I'm thinking it's going to be all along this line right here. So I kind of actually put that just right, I think. And then I got to decide how high I want it. And I'm thinking right here it's going to be kind of low, but there's going to be some structures coming up here, some kind of, I don't know what this is all going to be yet, something. And then this can kind of come down back along there like that, but I won't be able to see it. And there might be some little structures coming up, maybe parts of the city or something that are kind of broken, and some type of other bridge, something back there. Right, so let's see. Kind of already thinking about the lighting situation from the bridge, and so I know it's going to be way out there, and the arches of the lighting are going to be coming way like this. So they're going to be coming way over here. That's all going to be where the light is, and then the other one will be arched like way out there like that. I'm painting on one layer, so I can go ahead and erase what I don't like and don't need. Remember, I cut that, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the line for the bridge like that. Notice the bridge is still very flat because I haven't added in the perspective to the bridge yet. So now I need to go back to the red lines. And I need to follow, oh actually, my bad, I need to follow the blue lines. So I'm going to take those lines and I'm going to pull them down so I can actually follow this. And let's see here, we're going to just try to think how thick I want this. I think it'll be about that thick. I need to make sure I get back to a darker color again. Oh, no wonder it wasn't coming out dark. I'm on the wrong layer. And actually light will be hitting this part, and this is going to come, I'm going to just kind of wing this. I'm not going to make it too perfect. That's the underside. And the underside is going to be more lit up because that's where the light's coming through. And then all this needs to be a lot darker. There we go. What's important is that in an image you set up your values. And one important concept to keep in mind while working is when you have once you figure out your focal point, the closest part to the camera, the part that's going to have the most contrast in the image, is that's where your darkest darks and lightest lights are going to be. Once you've established your darkest darks and your lightest lights, and in this case it's going to be back here where all this will be lit up and everything. At least that's where the light source is, but there's going to be high contrast on my bridge. Is in the shadow part of the bridge, those lights that light up the shadow part of my bridge, they can't be so the light. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to demonstrate this for a second. So let's say I take this color back here. I want to put a little bit of this light color in here. Let's say this is light within my shadow. That color right there. I'm going to sample that color. That color needs to be lighter than, or excuse me, needs to be darker than any of the darker darks out here. That is within the light section of the image, because how you do contrast is light and dark, right? As you see in the background, you're going to have let's say in this case, my lights are going to be way back there, like so. I need to be able to contrast that, so I'm going to contrast it with, slightly darker colors. Let's say like this. Let's say that's the contrast right there. That dark back there needs to be lighter than this up here, which it is, so it'll work. In other words, you don't want to continue using that same light throughout everything you're doing. You want to make sure that as you're lighting up the different parts of your image, the lightest part of your image, where light is hitting most of the image at, where the brightness of your image is at. Let's say you have a big, huge light source in the background more. That the contrast there needs to be there, but you can't use that same light source throughout your entire image. You can't just keep going back to that light and adding it everywhere. You have to keep making sure your light gets darker and darker as you get into the darker parts of the image. Right, so now the bridge is starting to look more like a bridge now, but I still need to add more of this part over here. So I make sure I have this hard line there where it needs to be. Just putting it back in there. This bridge isn't going to be like this anyway. When I'm done with it, it's going to be all dilapidated and messed up, but for now, it's not. Okay, so I need to kind of wing this line right there, and about how high it's going to be. Somewhere about like so. There we go. So the part of the bridge that's actually going to be close to us is over here on the left-hand side of the image. Alright, I'm going to go to turn the brush down a little bit, just lightly make a line, and I'm going to re-grab that color so I can make it lighter. Oops, not that. And then re-grab the color again until it's kind of like what I want it to be. I'm going to grab just a little bit of light. I'll grab that light color right there. Right, so now as I can continue on here, I don't think I need that anymore. It would probably be easier if I painted it on 2 different layers, but I'm not going to bother with doing that. And then this one would kind of be like this. The shadows aren't going to be too dark, about like so. Just to kind of pull those shadows out there. And I'm just trying to think like the background. I need the bridge to definitely stand out from that background. So let's see. I'm going to do here really quick is a fast way is using the soft brush, and it's just an easy way to add some dark parts of the image. And I need to kind of change that background color a little bit, but not too much. Maybe something like that. And I need my light to come over here. And right there, this is going to be coming through the bridge. Add some atmosphere. Go back to this dark color here on my bridge. So I'm just, adding little shapes and stuff. But the main thing I'm trying to set up right now is the overall feeling of the image. The overall lighting and everything of the image. Let's see, I know that so just thinking through stuff. I know that back here I need it to be darker and then light in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a lighter color. And oops, that's a little too light. So where I know it'll kind of well, it won't be that light up here. The ground might be a little bit light all this is going to be shining through. I might have some light back in there. And then, some like clouds or something that it's darker to set up the atmosphere. Right, then whatever all this structure is going to be has to be, some sort of, it's more in the distant, it's more in the background. It's farther away from us, and so it can't be as dark as our darks up front, but we can still make it dark. Just needs to stand out. I'm just trying to think of how much of the light that's coming from over there is hitting this wall, which can be differentiated from up there. So I'm going to add just a little bit of highlight like that just to show there's a separation. So the light's kind of hitting some of this stuff. So this wall is more closer and the light's hitting it more. And then I'm going to use not quite, can't be as light as that light. And it's going to be hitting like the sides of whatever this is up here, but not the darker parts back here. They can't be too dark though. So some kind of, I don't know what this is yet at all. So, but it's some type of structure, and it's got, it's all messed up looking. It's broken down. It's falling apart. It's got little pieces. Running through it, whatever. Not really sure exactly what it is. Some type of big building or something that's all messed up. And then you have, start out as the same color, whatever these things are that are going out that way. But all this structure, whatever all this is going to get lighter. Remember, all that side of the wall can be darker. This is actually part of the bridge. I need to remember that. And then as I run this part of the wall here, I'm going to go ahead and make it a certain color, I think. I think I'll go with this color. So I'll put this color all the way in here and draw it all the way back there. Because that wall continues all the way back in perspective. Another thing to keep in mind is like when light's behind something, it'll even make the object look darker, the part that's facing away from the light. So that's another important part to remember. I might want to just look at one of those grids again to make sure that line's right. It looks like it is. I keep my grids there just in case I mess up or I forget. Like, oh, have I painted it too far? Is it still, is it still in perspective? Is basically what it's there for. So I want some of that light that's on the ground. It can be brighter because it's coming from over there, but the wall's not really receiving too much of it. It's receiving a little bit of it over there where it's brightest. But the ground's receiving more of it. Okay, so it's all starting to come together. Now at this point, I'm going to zoom out to thumbnail size. Or you can have window. Actually, that's what I'll do. Instead of having to zoom in and out, I'm just going to have my little navigator up there, I guess. Oh, that's right. I have it on my other screen. I have to pull it over here. And then turn the size way down. That way it's an actual thumbnail. And I'm going to pop it up here above colors like that. So what's good is that and notice I haven't zoomed in at all yet, and that's important. You want to establish your image as a thumbnail first, light and shadow. Once you've established light and shadow in the image, then you can start worrying about details and zooming in here and there. But before even that, unless you're just planning on fleshing out as a black and white image, you're going to want to start adding color too. But at this stage here, what's important is that we're not rendering. We're merely setting up our image. That's all we're doing. Nothing more. And you want to get good at doing this before even trying to render. So, because what's the point of rendering an entire image if the foundation's not good? If the thumbnail doesn't, like, notice my thumbnail up there in the right hand corner. It looks like an actual image. It looks like something. It looks like a picture. Like, you look like if you didn't see the bigger version, you just saw that thumbnail somewhere, you would click on it thinking it was an actual image, like a finished image perhaps, but it's not. It's not even close. I want to really push those edges away from each other by adding a harsher light there. And I want this to be a crack, so I need to show that there by adding, I don't want it to be too, there we go. If a color is too dark, I just put a light color over it, and then I use my Alt key to pull the two colors. I'm not worried about details at this stage. This one can't be as light as that one because it's further away from us. So I'm using and also because this is further away, I'm going to darken this color just a little bit. This whole color here needs to be darker. So light and shadow contrast is all about what's next to it. Something looks lighter when it's next to something darker. So instead of lighting the image up, you darken everything else around it. So notice I'm darkening everything else around it that way. Oops, not that dark. There we go. So I'm darkening everything else around it that way. It looks brighter. That's the important key to light and shadow. You just make that a little bit lighter, not much. It's still not going to be as light as this over here. Notice it's still darker, as you can see. Watch when I color over there. See how much darker it is? I don't want it when I do it hard. So, but over here it looks very light because of that play in contrast. I can get a little bit lighter still without pulling it too light. There we go. I wanted to show the distinction between those edges over there as well. And then, I might want to add texture to walls and stuff like that. And I got different brushes I can use to quickly add texture. And I'd have to change that to like a lighter color, but gray, because I'm working in. Okay, so this brush wants to do color, so I can't use it right now. But anyway, it's a cool brush to add texture. I could make this brush big too, and even bigger, and just slightly hit it like that. And that's a way to add texture there as well. And then just kind of, oops, just dot it like that, just to add some texture back there. Then all along the ground. So you got to be careful what colors you pick. Take white, like pure white. Look at how pure white is. There's no pure white in this image. See, so, and I'm only dabbing it, so it's actually still not going to be pure white because I'm lightly touching it, which means that it's going to still be a non-pure white color. Right. So I'm just kind of establishing a little bit of texture there, so I remember to do that. Just something I do sometimes. So that's really all it comes when the rest is imagination, to develop your own worlds and stuff. But notice that thumbnail up there, it looks like an actual image. And that's really all there is to it. That's landscaping right here. I mean, there's really no need for me to continue the tutorial at this point as far as what the tutorial is about, which is about how to landscape. And that's how to landscape. You learn perspective, composition, and then form, the light and shadow of the image, and how it all works together. Oops, I need to pick that light color there, see if I could. Nope, I'm just going to try to shape that there. All that's running along that same perspective. I haven't really straightened those out enough yet. I'd have to zoom in, I think, to do that. You can also have, let's see here, yeah, like little, I don't know what these are, little posts, some of them short, some of them longer, like they've been destroyed. Almost like it was part of another kind of walkway bridge thing or something. Now I'm going to take some of that light there and just kind of, that's a little too light, so I'm just going to lightly hit it and I'm going to grab it. Keep mixing the two colors together until I get something in between them. And I want it to be a little bit lighter than that, so let's go like this. I need a smaller brush. Notice I zoomed in a little bit for this just because it was too hard to do from far away. And I'm gonna do a cutting method here in a second. I'll show you what that is. After I have the light on there, I take that color of the object itself and I cut back into the light and just add little notches and stuff. Just kind of mess up the shape of the lighting so it looks a little bit broken here and there. Maybe some things sticking out, like, I don't know, used to be metal or rebarb or something. I would go about, detailing it later after I would figure out what the image is going to be more and it starts become more clear to me in my mind what exactly this image is going to be. That's when I would, start deciding what the stuff is and adding the details and the textures and stuff like that. But that's a different tutorial. That's all about rendering, and this tutorial is not about rendering. This tutorial is about how to landscape, how to get a background. This is how to get a background. So all this knowledge that you have to learn perspective, composition, light and shadow image. Notice there's a good balance, especially if you look in the thumbnail. There's a good balance of light and shadow. You have this really dark image here that really pops out and sticks out to us. I would add a little bit of light to that though, to show some of the details of the bridge. And so I would grab one of these colors, just lightly touch it, grab that color now, and I would just begin to lightly, I don't know exactly what parts of the bridge yet would really be highlighted because I don't understand the shape of the bridge yet. Haven't really decided any of that. But there'd be a little bit of light in there, not much. But notice that color should be a lot darker than the darkest light part back here, which it is, so all that works. And then I could, destroy the bridge more, like a lot more, by making it to where it looks more like the undergrowth of the bridge, but I should have put it on a separate layer to make that easier for me. Instead, what I'm going to do though is I'm going to, let's see here. I'll take this color all right here, and I'm just going to blast it through. Right, because that's the wall back there still. And just kind of those background images. So again, at this point, you don't have to keep watching. You've already kind of understood. At least I've already gone through what's necessary to understand about doing backgrounds, or if you want to call it landscapes, that's fine. So I can make this, I'm just trying to decide how broke up I want it. I'm going to take this undercolor here, kind of, we can see some of that part of the bridge perhaps as it's coming back this way toward us like this. I'm just going to kind of show some parts broken. And then I could maybe even have a figure back there to give perspective, like size. Not perspective, but it just kind of gives us an idea of dimension, how big stuff is. Have the foot back there somewhere like that. Have her hair coming down. I'm not taking the dark. I'm not taking that light. I'm taking the dark part of. Just kind of highlighting parts of the image. And I probably shouldn't make long hair because it kind of ruins the silhouette, but you kind of get the impression there's a person there. I would actually change it and go in more detail and stuff. And actually, they don't even look like they're sitting on the right part of the bridge. So since this is one layer, I'm going to have to go like this and then pull her up a little bit. I know it's going to be correct. But this is just a thumbnail, so it's okay. It doesn't, all this part, have little parts coming out like that. The bridge behind her over there. And then you can, I can even run through and have parts of the bridge here. Perhaps that is, all messed up, but I'd have to, when I drew the bridge in the first place, what I should have done on a separate layer is kind of draw on the bridge like this was the arch, coming up like that, whatever, is just kind of have parts of the bridge, where it's like that, and then parts colored in, where and then like have little parts where you can see where there's stones missing, whatever, or whatever it's made out of, and then you see some of that under framework, more like that to where it looks more broken. Anyway, I didn't do that, so it's fine. In this case, it's, just that part that got messed up where it was broken. And I might even want a bigger gap between just to make it look better. Maybe pull her back here more. But I'm going to tear all this down as well. She looks like she's like going to fall off or something. And I should have drew her on her own separate layer as well. But anyway, you get the idea, so I don't know why I'm still continuing with the tutorial. It's over. It's already done. I mean, there's nothing else really to talk about. Anything else beyond this point is going to be a different tutorial. It's going to be about rendering and stuff like that. So once you have a solid thumbnail like this and the light and shadow works, it looks like an image. The thumbnail looks like a picture. Like when I look at that, when I look in the upper right hand corner right here, I see that. If I seen that on Google, I would click on it thinking it was an actual image. I've done that so many times. I've clicked on something and thought it was going to be an actual image that would look good, and when I open it, I'm like, what the heck is this? It's like not even a decent speed painting is just total crap. But in the thumbnail image, it looked good, which means they had a good understanding of composition, of light and shadow, of contrast and stuff like that, and that's why it looked like a real image as a thumbnail. But yeah, so make sure your thumbnails look good. And even at this size here, at the size I've been working on, it looks fine. It doesn't look retarded. You can see that there's something going on there. You can kind of picture what it is. It triggers your imagination. Then from this point on, it's all about rendering. It's all about adding more and more details and stuff like that. And I can even maybe bloom out that background a little bit more. And as it's coming through her a little bit and through that gap, looks kind of cool. Just add a little more bright lights to the background there. Anyway, so that adds a little more atmosphere to it. But from this point, I would just decide what the image is and what those objects in the background are, and I would add the details I need to add to them. And I would come up with little ideas here and there as I'm rendering it out. But the rendering out is what takes the longest. That's what takes hours and hours and hours. To turn this into a quality painting with the right amount of details and everything that would look good printed out, it would probably take a good 3 to 5 hours. So the rendering process is the laborious process, and I have other videos on that on my website. So I have 2 really long ones, one for Photoshop and ipaintgirls.com, and I have another one that is for Painter 10, I believe. Anyway, so thank you for watching. Please visit the website. I also have 9 hours of Photoshop training on my website for only $10. It's Photoshop CS5. It's tailored toward painters, comic book artists, and photo editors. So it kind of covers a wide range of stuff, and it goes through the entire program, everything that's important to know that you need to know in order to be a professional in those fields. And it's only $10, and I do that because I just want to help people out. And I have a couple other tutorials on there as well for sale, but most of them are all free. And I have more free stuff on my YouTube channel that I don't put on the website just because I don't think it's not quite. It's more of like blogging, but it's still helpful. I just don't link to it on the website. All right, thank you for watching. Leave a comment.